Tomorrow we have an opportunity to make history by securing our first Club World Cup. And how fitting would that be? To not only call ourselves champions of Europe, but also champions of the world as well. You'd imagine that's going to make Roman Abramovich a very happy man. Tomorrow, Palmeiras, our opponents in the final, will do everything in their power to ruin our party. Palmeiras found themselves in the Club World Cup by defending their Copa Libertadores title by defeating Flamengo 2-1 in extra time, and they've entered this year's Club World Cup with completely different energy to last year, in which they came fourth, barely creating anything. They got to the final by defeating 10-man Al Ali 2-0, 2 excellent goals from Rafael Veiga and from their club legend Ndudu was enough to book this year's final spot, and they hope to become the first Brazilian team since Corinthians 10 years ago to lift the Club World Cup. Now 10 years back, I think it's safe to admit that we got outplayed by Corinthians. They were the stronger team, they created the better chances, we had a man sent off in Gary Cahill, and that game was known for Fernando Torres missing 2 amazing opportunities to get us back into the game, of course, to hope to change our fate. In Brazil, they take this Club World Cup extremely seriously, and it makes so much sense. It's an opportunity for the third world to test themselves against the European powerhouses of the first world, and their fans understand the undertaking at hand. You know, they've come out there to support their team in great numbers, to great effects. The players fully understand the expectations set by the fans, and they will do everything in their power to not let them down. Players like Jorginho and Thiago Silva know fully well what we have to do tomorrow. As Mason Mount himself said, he watched the Copa Libertadores final with these guys, and he saw a Palmeiras team that were very aggressive, very defensively sound, and very passionate. If we want to beat these guys, we must match that intensity, we must match that passion, and tomorrow we must be greater than them in all aspects in the game, as the opportunity to lift the Club World Cup does not come round very often. In today's match preview, I'm going to do things very differently. There won't be any press conference review. Instead, I'm going to give you guys a breakdown on Palmeiras, their key players, their manager, and what to expect from them. I'm going to go through my predicted lineup, of course, and at the end, I'm going to give my final match prediction as well. So I hope you guys enjoy. Smash that like button. I want to get over 1,500 likes today, and without wasting any more time. Now, to start with things, we have to discuss Palmeiras manager Abel Ferreira. Originally of Portuguese descent, and at 42 years old, it's no surprise why he's drawn many comparisons with Jose Mourinho. He is the type of manager that prefers to out-tactics his opponent. He looks to find the weaknesses in his opponents and exploit them to the fullest. He showcased these skills in the latest Copa Libertadores versus Atletico Mineiro and Flamengo as well, who are 2 teams who have far greater glamorous lineups compared to Palmeiras. He is a manager that encourages hard work and discipline. He is known for his passion down the touchline. He is extremely energetic, and it's no surprise that this same energy is reflected in his team. Now, they aren't known for the most exciting brand of football. However, you are going to get a very difficult opponent against a team that never know when they're beaten. And I think right now, let's discuss the tactics in which Ferreira likes to set his team up in. Now, Ferreira sets his team up in a 4-2-3-1 setup. They're a team that like to defend deep, but they don't just sit there passively keeping their positions. Their players work hard, they fight hard, and they have a high dual success rate. Off the ball, they set up in a 4-5-1, and he sets them out with a compact mid-block structure. They don't engage in the press high up, so they're going to be very comfortable with us playing out from the back. They're a team that likes to cover all passing angles into the midfield, and this is something we've struggled against with many teams that overload us between the lines, and due to this tends to isolate any striker we use up front. They do press though, but it's not as aggressive. They will press on backwards passing, moving their blocks up, and their defensive plan is to force those passes backwards and wait for a moment to capitalize and kickstart a counter-attack. They have dangerous players on the counter. They play very direct and look to create as many fast attacks as possible. Players cover ground very quickly, fullbacks push high up, wingers invert, and they will look to attack the spaces in behind our slow-ass fullbacks. I think right now, let's discuss the key players and threats to expect from Palmeiras tomorrow. Now, to start with things, we must discuss their captain in Gustavo Gomes. Now, he has been linked with us during this past summer. He is a Paraguayan international, and back in Brazil, he is seen as the best centre-back in Brazilian football. Now, he did have a very indifferent spell in Europe, notably signing for AC Milan, where he did not have the biggest impact whilst he was there. However, he is the definition of a leader. He is one that organises that Palmeiras back line. He is the one that has quality distribution with his long balls as well too. He has excellent communication, and he really encapsulates that ethos and mentality the manager wants to instill in his team. He is a warrior and a very good defender. He is definitely a player to watch out for in tomorrow's game. Now the next player on the list, who for me is the most dangerous one to watch, is club legend and icon Ndudu. Now he has made his return back to Palmeiras to great effect. He did have a small stint playing in the Middle East, and he played an incredible part in the win of Al Ahly, scoring a magnificent goal from the right hand side, top left corner blaster. He's extremely skillful, and he gives them a new dimension when it comes to attacking down the flanks. He brings incision from out wide. He gives Palmeiras width. And with those inverted runs he makes, that creates lots of space for runs in behind from your Ronnies and your Vegas. And due to that skill, due to his top dribbling in tight spaces, he will look to cause as much havoc down our left hand side, regardless if that's Marcos Alonso or Malang Sarr. He has been capped by Brazil before, and he is in great form, so he is definitely a player to watch out for in tomorrow's game. And of course, for the final player, let's discuss Rafael Veiga. Now he's one of the most informed players this past 12 months, with many calls back in Brazil suggesting that he should get a call up to the Brazilian national team. Now one thing about his game, one key strength about his game, is his movement in behind. He has great timing. He's got great timing with his late arrivals inside the box. He can score from both feet. He can score first time, and he has great creativity behind his game as well. He scored the first goal from a Ndudu assist versus Al Ahly, and he complements Palmeiras' great, direct, counter-attacking style to great effects. Now before I continue on, let me give you a brief lowdown on other key players that Palmeiras have. Now you might be wondering, Nini, why are you not talking about Gabriel Menino, a player that we have been linked with before, a player known as the Brazilian Kimmich who had a great season last year? Well, the reality is he hasn't even made the squad for the Club World Cup. There has been some controversy behind his mentality, the lack of improvement in his game as well too, and the manager does not accept complacency at all. So he has a lot to do to get himself back in the team. Other key players they possess: Waverton, who is seen as one of the best goalkeepers in Brazil. He is destined to become part of the Brazilian World Cup team, where he will join up alongside Alisson and Edison. He's absolutely respected back there. Next up is winger turned striker Ronnie, who has transitioned into a very dangerous nippy striker that gives him a new technical edge up front as well. And of course, let's not forget young 20-year-old left-foot midfield player Danilo. He sits in the base of their midfield. Recently, he has been linked with the move to Arsenal, and he's very tenacious. He provides a lot of mobility in their midfield, and he puts in crunching tackles. He runs to receive passes, and he's a very aggressive player. So you guys, now that we have an understanding of the players to watch out for in tomorrow's game, I'm now going to give my predicted lineups. Now, I'm going to go for two predicted lineups. I've got some reasoning behind both. To start with the first one, I'm going for the 3-4-2-1. Now, in this lineup, I've got Mendy in goal. In defense, Rudiger, Silva, Christensen. Midfield wingbacks, Kova, Kante, Azpilicueta, Alonso. And up front, Mount, Kai, and Lukaku. Now, tomorrow Lukaku has an opportunity to become our highest goal scorer this season with 10 goals. And when you see the parallels 10 years back with Fernando Torres at the time being our record signing, big hopes and ambitions behind his name, and the fact that he was not able to live up to that during the time we needed him most in the Club World Cup, I think Lukaku already is at an advantage, and he has a big opportunity now to make something happen and start to redeem his Chelsea career. In behind, I've gone for Mason Mount and Kai Havertz. I think against Palmeiras, you need to have players with energy and intensity. When we press and close them down, we need to make sure that we can really pin them back in their own half. I think Mount in tight spaces is very good at holding the ball up, receiving back to goal as well. His set piece taking is, I probably think, the best at the club currently as well. So he set up so many goals from his corner routines and set pieces. And I think with Kai Havertz and his movement in behind, I definitely feel like he could profit from Lukaku being occupied and then arriving in those spaces vacated by him. Now I've gone for Alonso and Aspi, and to be fair, I'm a bit nervous by Alonso after seeing how he was getting roasted down the flanks in our last game, and even with Azpilicueta too, as the game was going on, our wing backs weren't pushing up as high, which meant that our midfield was getting a bit overrun in those central areas. Palmeiras are a team that like to focus their attacks down the flanks. So I definitely feel we need that energy up front from our front three. And of course, you guys in midfield, I've gone for Kova and Kante. Kovacic is just a very easy, simple one. He's been one of our best players this season. I thought he was our best player in our last game versus Al Hilal. And with N'Golo Kante, I think it's very simple. Whenever you play any final or any game of magnitude, you need to have this guy on your team. That's it. Against Palmeiras, who are going to be rough and dirty, I need to have fighters in my team, and chelse is one of the very best in the world. And to end with things, I've gone with Mendy over Kepa. Now, Kepa has been in great form under Thomas Tuchel, great form this season, made some outstanding saves in the last game versus Al Hilal. However, for me, in cup games and finals, you have to use your best keeper, and that has to be Edouard Mendy. I mean, the guy just secured the African Cup of Nations with Senegal. He played a decisive part in that tournament as well. And even though Kepa's form has risen and his stock is a lot higher now, in games of magnitude, you have to use your best players, and for me, this is why I have to see Mendy in goal. Now for my second lineup, I've gone for a 4-1-4-1 system. In goal, Mendy. In defence, Sarr, Silva, Rudiger, and Azpilicueta. Midfield, Jorginho, Kante, cover. Out wide, Ziyech and Mount, and up front, Lukaku. Now the reason why I've gone for this system is because Palmeiras will come out to defend tomorrow. They're going to use mid to low block structures, and with how they defend, they want us to have the ball out wide. And we've seen that when we use a wing-back system without Ben Chilwell or Reece James, that lack of dynamism, that lack of creativity can get caught out time and time again. And Palmeiras want to force backwards passes from Azpilicueta and Marcos Alonso. So my thinking is, by using a 4-1-4-1 system, this is an offensive system in which we can have our creative players out wide and Mount and Hakim Ziyech. Now the beauty of how this has worked recently is that those vertical diagonal runs from your Kovacic and N'Golo Kante, they help create those overload because they make those late arrivals out wide, which frees up spaces for a Mount or Hakim Ziyech to tuck into the half spaces. And for me, you want your creative players to be on the ball in these situations. The wing backs who aren't known for their creativity or their attacking play, I feel like we could get caught out offensively, and I don't want to be in any situations where our attacking players are getting outmanned and isolated. In this team too, with Kante and Cover providing that counter press, I mean, how formidable is that? You've got George, Kante, Cover, Mason Mount. These guys have some of the most formidable pressing throughout Europe. And of course with Hakim Ziyech, who has really prospered playing in his best position out wide on the right hand side, I feel like he could provide that creative spark to provide us that ingenuity that we are definitely going to need in tomorrow's game. You guys, the key is to shifting those Palmeiras blocks. We struggle against defensive teams, and I think the best way to counter that is by being offensive ourselves. So right now, I'm going to end things by giving my match prediction, and of course, I can't bet against my team. I've gone for a 2-1 win. I do think that Palmeiras are a quality team. We're definitely going to have to play well, and especially after our recent struggles versus Al Hilal, Plymouth, and other games throughout the past month as well too, we are in no position to take any team for granted. 10 years ago, we were a bit complacent. We got punished for that. Tomorrow, we have to take destiny into our own hands. Of course, eyes are going to be on Lukaku to make that difference. 10 years ago, Torres had the opportunity to put himself in the history books. He wasn't able to take that. Lukaku, I'm expecting bigger and better things from you in tomorrow's game. I'm hoping we win this game, you guys, because not only I'll be creating history, but at the same time, this will give us unbelievable confidence when we face Liverpool in the Carabao Cup final in 2 weeks' time. So you guys, on that note, that is my preview out the way. Give your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. And on that note, I'm Nini FC, this is Blue Lions TV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.